Mark Walsh here from Embodied Yoga Principles. Let's look at the yoga of money. So in terms of taboo areas that sometimes aren't really talked about in the kind of spiritual world, I'd say this is a big one. I know it's definitely a taboo for a lot of people in the UK yoga scene, probably abroad too, from what I've seen. So how might our yoga on the mat be influential off the mat in terms of money? They seem quite separate things, don't they? You know, quite separate. So what are the capacities we're building? You know, in terms of, we have three postures we work with on EYP a lot. One about giving and generosity, one about receiving, and one about containing, managing, caring, organizing. These three postures, there's a separate video on all those three that you can see how they connect more. Really, really critical postures in terms of exploring our relationship to money. Anxiety is a big thing around money. So if we're looking at our relationship to stress in yoga, then we're looking at, there's something that can be quite helpful in regards to money. Often there's a sort of anxiety, you know, when I put my card in the machine, is like, is it going to give me money? And that goes back to my student days where sometimes it didn't. These days, you know, I haven't had it refuse me for a while, but, you know, this is there. Working with, I would say, shame and embarrassment can be done on the mat. There's often stuff around pride and shame around money. Yoga's a great place to explore, like, look at my beautiful posture, I'm so proud. Noticing if that's positive, less positive or not. The same around shame, you know, like, oh, I just did tree posture and I fell over, oh, how shameful. Noticing my shame around not being able to stretch as far as everyone else, our competitiveness with everyone else. And again, if we can really notice those patterns, these all show up financially. You know, do I'm very rich and very proud, or is it like I'm rich but I'm not as rich as someone else, so I'm ashamed, or I'm ashamed because I'm too rich, or whatever it is, you know, too poor, whatever. So what else? Ethics. So one of the big practices of yoga, I think, that's often ignored in a modern posture yoga class is ethics. So do look at the yamas and niyamas, see how they apply to money. One of the problems we've got here is that many of the founders of esoteric Eastern practices weren't really dealing with money. So I'm a Theravadan Buddhist, for example, and Buddhist monks do not handle money. They're not even allowed to touch it, in the Theravadan tradition anyway. So that's a bit of a problem, isn't it? It's like going to virgins and asking them for advice on sex. It's not so good. So I think this money area is one that we are developing in the rest. I've got some videos on my other channel about money mindfulness and things like that that could be quite useful. But what I want to point out to here is what we're observing and developing in a yoga class are patterns around things like how we cling, how we offer open-handed, shame, emotions, centering around the fight-flight response. That's all useful in regard to money. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, you can subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. More importantly, however, get the newsletter. So the newsletter you do, is that right? In the box here? Okay. So why you would want the newsletter? So you hear about the best videos, so you actually ask me questions, you can reply to the newsletter, I'll reply. You can hear about events, teacher trainings, other things that are happening, and stay in touch more reliably. So newsletter there.